James Gourley is, of course, an attorney, and he is the executive director of International Center for 9/11 Studies. He has an undergraduate degree in chemical engineering as well, and it's IC911studies.org. The International Center for 9/11 Studies. These are the people, the great patriots, who deserve your support, lovers of the truth, who did the FOIA request and filed the lawsuits and went through all the rigmarole in the last few years to force the release of all these NIST videos, the federal government videos of firefighters, police, and others that they had tried to classify. Now, when they got 5 terabytes of video and documents released, it wasn't bland stuff. It was firemen and police and the deputy FBI director talking about bombs and explosions and countdowns and the sounds of bombs and powerful stuff. So I also want to hear, as they go through these 5 terabytes, what else they're about to release, what their organization stands for, and the incredible success they're having. James Gourley, thank you for coming on with us.
Thanks, Alex.
Tell us about yourself, your organization, correct anything that I might have been partially incorrect on, and break down how you got all this NIST information.
Well, I mean, like you say, I'm an attorney, and that takes most of my time during the day, so I don't have a whole lot of spare time to devote to 9/11, but I have been trying to contribute some original research and original work since about maybe 2006, and as I was, submitting comments on various government reports and, submitting papers to be published in scientific journals on the subject, they kept wanting to know, what organization that I was affiliated with. And since I was, kind of acting independently and I didn't really have anything to say, so in 2008, I founded the International Center for 9/11 Studies, basically as just a vehicle through which I could, contribute original research to 9/11 and also collaborate, with other scientists and, college professors on work related to 9/11. So, I've got I've been author or co-author on several papers that have been published in scientific journals through the International Center, and I've worked with scientists, all over the world. So, but the most recent action we've taken was we filed a Freedom of Information Act request in January of 2009 with the National Institute of Standards and Technology. We basically just requested every photograph or video that they used, received, cited, in any way that was in any way a part of their investigation into the Twin Towers and Building 7. And they, despite, repeated, requests for when we might hear back from them after, 4 months of calling them about once a month and asking when they might respond, we were forced to file a lawsuit against them. And sure enough, a month after we filed the lawsuit, they start releasing documents, and they have been ever since.
Well, talk about, because you really did something important. Talk about how you got the idea to demand all these videos be released. They didn't want to be forthcoming. They'd refused to give them to others, but you were able to get them. And now some of the things that we're seeing on these videos, it becomes very clear why NIST did not want to release these.
Right, yeah. I think, a year or two before I submitted my request, I recall somebody else posting on 9/11 Blogger that they had requested pretty much the same thing I did, and that NIST told them that it would cost $19,000 or $20,000 to produce all this stuff, and obviously that was an effort on their part to make it cost prohibitive. So I thought, well, I'll submit it, and I'll submit the same request. If they try to pull that on me, I'll challenge it and I'll just sue them because I'm an attorney, so. Filing a lawsuit against them would be a lot cheaper than, paying them $19,000 or $20,000. So, but after actually, whenever I submitted the request, they never responded, which actually under recent amendments to the Freedom of Information Act, if they fail to respond within 20 days, you actually get kicked down into a lower fee structure. It's kind of complex. They have 3 different fee classes that you can fall under. So even if they put me in the highest fee class, since they failed to respond, I automatically got kicked down to the next lower fee class. But actually, since I sued them, they haven't tried to charge me a dime. So it's been pretty successful. And like you say, as I've been going through these, and I've only and you kind of mentioned there's 4 or 5 terabytes of information here, and as I've been going through them, I've only gotten through maybe 15 to 20% of what I've received because it's just a mountain of information. But you find all kinds of references to explosions. I wanted to make sure that that footage that I think you've played and others have played about with the men walking away from Building 7 with the hard hats on, saying, "Keep an eye on that building. That building's about to blow up." I wanted to make sure that was legitimate and sourced from an official government body that it documented that they had possession of that video as well. You've got Brian Williams talking to the fire chief saying, "Well, we had heard that it was either going to be brought down or would come down on its own." I mean, NIST was in possession of all kinds of evidence of explosions and ignored it all.
Well, we had the news reporting that they were going to blow up Building 7. I heard it on the radio that day, and now it's all admitted. So they did this in plain view, like a magician distracting you with his assistant while he does the sleight of hand, but we've now seen it. I don't know if you've seen the latest video, but Geraldo Rivera on Fox, this is a big deal, has come out and tacitly endorsed 9/11 truth and the victims' families over Building 7. He said he's very concerned about this and understands why people are investigating now. So it's gone from total ridicule to Geraldo Rivera, a longtime New Yorker, saying he's concerned.
Yeah, I did see that this weekend, and I mean, that's all the thanks to that goes to the people who organized the Building What advertising campaign, because I don't think that ever would have happened without Building What. And actually, a lot of the video that I've received is basically in its very native, very high-quality format, and I gave the videographer or the video editor who put together that commercial, I gave him access to all of the Building 7 collapse videos that I've received, that I know of anyways, that I've discovered, through my investigation. And I think he might have used some of my, the video that I've received in that commercial, because obviously it's going to be broadcast on television and you need very high-quality video for it.
Well, we want to thank you, James Gourley, for what you've done with your organization that's having a huge effect, International Center for 9/11 Studies. But I want to expand on that and thank our listeners, because they had raised just a little bit of money. I'm not thanking myself for the show. I want to thank our listeners who I know gave a lot of money when we premiered the Building What commercial here a few months ago. Gave the largest donations to that point that they had gotten and allowed that TV ad to get on the air. You've done it again, InfoWarriors. Now it's getting attention all over New York. It's getting attention on CNN, Fox, you name it. And people are having a debate about Building 7. And it all started because the judge, when they were trying to get a city council investigation with their petition, said Building What when they were bringing up 7. And so the genie's out of the bottle, the cat's out of the bag, the train's left the station, and 9/11 Truth is only building its energy internationally, and more people are looking at the evidence. And that's got to feel good, James, for somebody like yourself who's seeking after justice. You could have just sat there on the sidelines as a successful lawyer and as somebody who's also a chemical engineer. Why did you get involved?
Well, I mean, how can you not? I don't know. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. I mean, once I first got into this during law school in maybe 2004, when I saw David Ray Griffin giving a a talk at the University of Wisconsin in Madison on C-SPAN, and I mean, after it probably took me a year and a half of researching it before I could even convince myself that it was true. Just because it's horrible to even think about that this could be an inside job, but the evidence is all there. I mean, it's undeniable. So once you are armed with that information, I mean, I had to start contributing in whichever ways I can. And my science background, I've got a degree in chemical engineering, so I'm able to kind of contribute to some of the scientific aspects of it. And also, I'm an attorney, so I'm able to do things like sue NIST whenever they ignore FOIA requests or if they had tried to, assess some kind of, fee for releasing the materials. I could have challenged them on that too. So I'm just trying to, contribute wherever I can.
Yeah, because they can just dump it on a hard drive. And, under FOIA, more about it than I do, but, they're supposed to give the public this stuff, and they do everything they can to not release it. There's also evidence in some of the videos of them editing things, like in one Building 7 collapse footage I've seen, it cuts in after the penthouse has already collapsed, and that's very important because they claim that the collapse started somewhere else, but that video that was already open source shows that it began with the penthouse. Yeah,
they released all the World Trade Center 7 collapse videos that they've sent me that I've found so far that have good sound and are from close up to Building 7 I don't know. I mean, it's suspicious whether they might have cut out the collapse of the penthouse or what, but the collapse of the East Penthouse is missing in all of the really good video. And actually, one of the videos that does show the collapse of the East Penthouse, actually the soundtrack is missing until after the collapse is already over, and then suddenly, magically, the soundtrack comes back on. So, and the reason that's important is one video they did release, which was with a good soundtrack that shows the East Penthouse collapsing. It's shot from a further distance away, and I think it was shot from inside a news van because there's not much sound, but about 1 second before the East Penthouse collapses,
boom.
There's a really loud boom. And, I mean, there's no way that wasn't an explosion.
Well, cover-up is the evidence of a crime. How many times do cops, the good old-fashioned cops, wish we had some more of them today, I guess we still do in some cases, when you see somebody trying to cover something up, that's the evidence that you got the right guy. And everywhere surrounding 9/11 is a cover-up. I mean, they had armed guards guarding the pieces of the rubble of 7, Tower 1 and 2, North and South Tower. They shipped it off to China. They fought to not let people look at it. There was molten 3,000-degree steel a month and a half later. I mean, whatever they used to blow those up, I mean, this was pretty science fiction-esque. We know it wasn't jet fuel.
No, it certainly wasn't. And I've got several videos that have references to molten steel and rivers of steel flowing. I need to go ahead and rip it off the DVD that they sent me and put it up on my YouTube channel. But I mean, for example, I've got one video of a talk that Leslie Robertson, who is the structural engineer that helped build the Twin Towers, he was giving a presentation at Stanford University, and one of the students asks a question after it's over, and he kind of gives this offhand remark about how the cleanup crew took him down and showed him where there was a river of steel flowing underneath the debris. And, I mean, you can't contradict that. I mean, this is a very high-level guy.
But we have all the firemen on video saying it was like a foundry. It was just lava.
Right, and then you've got John Gross at the University of Texas saying, where was the molten metal? I've never seen this. It's just unbelievable.
It is. I want to come back and talk about how we get this video out faster to people. It might be a good idea to put it on a website, open source, for folks to download. In fact, it cost me a lot of money to do it, but if you want, we put it on prisonplanet.tv so everybody can just grab the raw stuff. We'll be right back.